Morning, everyone. Good afternoon, I should say. Thank you for joining Deb and I today. We're so excited that you could make it and join us today. So we would love you to follow along and make this an interactive workshop. So if you would like to scan this code, it will take you to our workshop questions. If you need the Wi-Fi here, it's just the open Wi-Fi, the CCH free Wi-Fi. There's no password. And if you're unable to use an electronic device, we do have a few paper copies. Could you raise your hand if you need one of those?
Of course. David scanning still, is it taking this is good. You ready to go in? To one? Go back, we'll get to it. We'll get to it, Donna. We have it on another one of the papers. Yeah, it's on the top of the paper. You want to?
If you're still getting that code, it's available on the top left corner, or it's also available in the Wooba app.
We're going to leave these up at the front here. If anybody needs to grab one, they are here. Welcome. So happy that you're all here. I do have to say, when I got up this morning, I was very nervous about the idea of talking in front of a room full of people. But I see that you're all Zontans, and so I'm just in a room full of friends. So that makes me feel much, much better. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank our virtual attendings who are also joining us today. So you might ask yourself, how does meaningful mentorship for Zonta end up in Afghanistan? So we are here to tell you how meaningful mentorship can have a profound effect, and it can have a rippling effect and reach all the way to Afghanistan. I'd like to introduce Tressa Lacey. Tressa received the JMK, or Jane M. Klossman, Women in Business Award from our club, district, and ZI in 2019. And in 2020, she was able to become a member. She was able to become a member of District 8 and the Zonta Club of South Puget Sound. She was featured as a speaker in Zonta's Remarkable Women Powerful Stories in March of 2021. She is also the founder of a nonprofit called Undaunted Women. She currently serves as their Vice President of Communication. She is an alumni of the University of Washington. She's an adjunct accounting professor, mentoring accounting students. In addition to this, she is an author. She has written 2 books. One is an accounting textbook, and she is in the process of publishing her own memoirs about being a lumberjack girl as a child. She is married to her wonderful husband, David, and together they have 5 beautiful children. Yeah. She's a busy girl, and she is my mentee. Oh.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with Deb, and I'm glad that she agreed to help me with this workshop, because I can't do it alone. It seems like I need that support, and I'm excited to show you what that looks like and how that's helped me. Deb joined the Zonta Club of Coos Bay in 2008, and she has now since joined and moved to the Zonta Club of South Puget Sound in Washington State. She is the governor-elect for District 8 now, and she's a business owner, former business owner, and she's served on a lot of Zonta Club committees and volunteered in her community mentoring young women. Deb also has been married to her husband Arvin for 25 years, and they have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. Welcome, Deb.
Thanks. Thank you, thank you. So today, we are focusing less on the structure and the meaning of mentoring and more on the meaning of the connection and how important a connection is when you're doing mentoring with somebody. We have a total of 3 presentations that we do on this topic. Today, we're talking about meaningful mentoring, and the other ones we'll tell you a little bit more about at the end of the presentation. Just to clarify, when we're talking about mentoring, meaningful mentoring, we're actually talking about the relationship of goal setting and friendship and how to balance the 2 of those. And we would also, we believe that the mentor is the person doing the mentoring, and the mentee is the person receiving the mentoring. Just so we're clear on when we use those terms, what we're talking about. Mentoring styles and structures are endless. There are many out there that you can use, and there's some very, very good ones. But what is consistent in all of the good ones is that the connection made is meaningful. And that's when you have a very good connection, when you both have come to an understanding of each other. So I would like to talk about, switch a few of these, but I'm doing 2 things at once, talking and sharing. All right. So in a meaningful connection, mentors can help mentees by helping them to articulate their needs, asking them questions. What is it that you need from a mentor? That way your mentee can be very specific in what they're looking for. Then you can help them develop a plan on how to meet those goals that they've set forth. You can also help them reach that goal and accomplish a dream. In a meaningful connection, it requires mentors to give the mentee tools. Give them things they need to help them reach those goals or to understand what those goals are. Sometimes they come to you and they don't really know what it is that they want mentoring about. You also can supply them with resources, guidance. Most importantly is your time, to give your mentees your time. That is what it's really all about. I'd like to share a quote. A mentor is someone who allows you to see hope inside yourself. This is from Oprah Winfrey. We think this is a wonderful quote, and it's something that we use quite a bit. So everybody needs somebody to come along and give them a little hope. So I'm going to let Tressa tell you about her story and some people that gave her some hope.
I love the quote we shared. A mentor is someone who helps you see the hope inside yourself, not just the hope part, which we'll talk about, but the seeing part. Because for me, a big part of mentoring has been to open my eyes. So this is a picture of me. We're not at a family picnic. This is my family. I grew up with 14 brothers and sisters. And I grew up as a child lumberjack. I'm the girl in the pink shirt. It's just wild hair. So have you ever found yourself in one place like this and you're longing to be somewhere else, but you're unsure of how to get there? That's really how I felt. I begin my story here in the 1990s, and I will live my life trying to carve a dollar out of the mountain unless I summon the resources to overcome poverty. And that was really hard for me to do because I lived while we were logging in a mini school bus, a tiny school bus on top of a mountain, very isolated with my siblings and my parents, and that's it. And I didn't have access to running water or electricity, let alone access to resources that might help me move from here to where I wanted to be. And this is where I wanted to be. I had a vision of myself in a thriving family. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to feel loved and cared for. But at 12, like you saw before, I had no idea how to get there. And I also didn't realize that my life was any different than anyone else.
All right, we put the QR code up for the handout if anybody needs another shot of it. Here it is. Otherwise, there is a paper down here, or you can go on the Whova app, and we have this also set up on there. So pick whichever way you want to do it. All right, I'm going to skip the next one. Okay. Okay. Go here.
So we're actually doing this virtually as well. So we're trying to include some of our virtual attendees. And or if you're here and you would like to join, this part is part of an online forum or discussion. The first one was just for you, an online forum, only you will have those responses. This one is if you would like to share your responses on an online discussion board, you can scan that. Or if you're attending virtually, you can type in the link there too.
All right, great. So I would like for you to take a moment and give this a thought. A person who has made a difference in my life is. How many of you have felt isolated at times, like Tressa did, up on a mountain, nobody to help her? How is she going to get to where she wants to go? I think we've all found ourselves in that place one time or another. So I would like you to turn to your table mate or on your Whova app or on your paper, and I would like you to answer that question. A person who has made a difference in your life is. We've already had some people answer it online, but share something with your person sitting next to you or write it down so they can have an idea of who helped you in the past, who has been a mentor for you.
Hey, I'm probably gonna come up. Oh, I just. Yeah, but they both are. I see.
Have you all thought of somebody who has helped you? Okay, interesting. All right. Does anybody want to share who that somebody might have been? Anybody? I have some ideas. Maybe it was a coworker. Oh, good. Maggie, who would you like to share?
So small world. A person who really has made a difference in my life, I'm sitting right next to. She is from my district, Deb Arney, past international governor. And she was on our district nominating committee, and it asked me if I would run for lieutenant governor. And being in that leadership position is phenomenal. And it's hard to describe what you learn and the friendships you make. But I thanked her for asking me that very important question because it has really made a difference in my life.
It might have been maybe a coworker, maybe a family member, maybe a Zonta that mentored you or that was there at an important moment for you. So we are going, don't know which microphone to speak in here. We are going to go on to our next slide, which is also another turn and talk slide. You've probably talked about this a little bit, but with that connection, thinking about that person, what did they help you do? With that connection, what were you able to do? So go ahead and turn and talk and share that if you didn't share that in your first part of the conversation. Yeah. Did you?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
From the get-go, I saw yeah, no, fine.
All right. Can we get anybody to share something? We know Maggie shared how Debbie Arney helped nominated her to be lieutenant governor, and that helped her step into leadership in Zonta. Anybody else want to share what somebody's helped you do? Maybe it was get a new. Doesn't have to be big all the time when you have somebody helping you or someone mentoring you. It could be just small things. Well, I'm going to let Tressa tell you a little bit about some of the first people that helped her as a mentor and her family history.
You can see this is another photo of me at 14. I am the one in the striped shirt, and those are my sisters by me. You can see our pants are just sopping with tree sap, and yeah, this is how I knew. And when you work in the timber business, especially as a child, you know that it's kind of a matter of time until someone gets hurt. You can figure. At 14, that was me. So my brother I was using my chainsaw, and my brother was pushing a big tree with the forks of his skidder, and it whipped around and knocked me off my feet. And so it actually crushed my left leg into pieces. That moment was really eye-opening for me because it was as if I started to see, but I couldn't see by myself. You know, you think it's normal and everyone goes through this when you're surrounded by that, because my siblings saw that too. But it was as if my leg opening up was like my life opening up before me. And there was a really, really special couple that came to my aid. There's a lot of people that did that I found that helped me, but today I want to tell you about the Mortensons. And they were our closest neighbors. This picture was taken 20 years later when they came to visit me and my family now. So that tells you how meaningful they've been in my life. But they came to the hospital and advocated for me to get the care that I needed because I wasn't getting it. And another thing that they did was, after I got out of the hospital, no one could take me to physical therapy to try to get some movement back. And they did. They drove me. And I also didn't have a way to get to school. I had to walk on crutches, and I was very sick. I had lost half of my body weight, and it was very hard for me. But they met at the end of my road, so no one would know they were helping, because that was what was in our family. You don't get help. And then they would drive me to school. So it was a very big deal. And a step past that, they also asked, they were just looking for ways to make a connection. They asked if there was a goal I had. I wanted to learn to play piano. I never did learn, but Barbara invited me over to her house whenever I could squeeze in time, which wasn't very often. And she tried to give me some piano lessons just to find a way to spend time with me. And also I thought, with Dennis, I thought, what is it that makes this couple so different? What's it about these people? He was a pharmacist. So I thought, I need to be a pharmacist. And actually, when I started college, I started as a pharmacist. I wanted to be a pharmacist. I ended up an accountant when I learned it wasn't the degree. But it was the idea that that's how you get to a place, the education. This is how you get somewhere to help people like that.
It sounds like you made quite a meaningful connection with them. So what does that meaningful connection look like for you?
I had a question. What did she do? Said he was a pharmacist. Why?
She was a teacher,
Okay.
but I didn't, I guess I didn't know you had to go to school to be a teacher at that time. So it wasn't as, yeah. So, you know, I thought anyone can be a teacher. Now I know. Now I know.
So what was it about that made that connection so meaningful?
So of course, and I appreciate you having these, if they noticed a need, they said, here is first, you know, sometimes we get busy and we don't notice, but they noticed I had a need and they came to the hospital and said, she needs more testing because unfortunately I had developed a disease, my muscles, the compartments, muscle compartments were so pressurized, they were suffocating my muscles and my nerves. And I wouldn't have known, nobody would have known if they hadn't come to the hospital and made them do that because we weren't, you know, able to pay for care or anything like that. So that's what they did. And then they made time out of their busy schedules to drive me and to do all those things that I needed. And then they asked me what I needed. What do you want? What's your goal? I want to learn piano, and made that a connection piece too.
So mentoring doesn't always look one way. This is a mentor of mine that I've been working with for about 16 years. Her name is Annis. And when Annis and I started working together, she would say, come over for tea. And that's how we started our mentoring program. I would go to her house for tea about every other week. And to this day, we still have tea. However, we live in different states. So a lot of times our tea is on a Zoom meeting. But I met her about a month ago, and this picture was from a month ago when we actually met in person, and we had tea. So mentoring can be in all different kinds of ways. It's not just one specific way. We talked with Tressa about what a meaningful connection looks like. But on the other hand, what does it feel like? What do you feel like when someone is really, that meaningful connection's gotten deeper? It's not just somebody you've met and they've helped you, but you've gotten to know each other a little bit deeper. So Tressa, what did that look like to you with the Mortensons?
The biggest thing that comes to mind is hope. With that quote is it felt like hope. They helped me see that hope within myself. Yeah, I felt heard maybe for the first time. My voice wasn't drowned out. I felt very heard and that I mattered. I didn't feel like I was isolated anymore. I didn't feel like I was completely alone wanting to get somewhere that was impossible. And I felt very guided as well.
And mentored. All right. So the Mortensons provided and mentored in so many ways for Tressa. They gave her hope. That was the most important thing. She didn't feel like she was stuck on that mountain with a broken leg and a shattered leg all alone. She had hope that she would get better from their help. They were one of her first mentors, and she's had many since then. So with that help, they helped her reach a goal, and that was to get her leg better, to learn piano, and to get her to school. And at that age 14, those were her goals, and that's what they helped her do. But she's had many more since then. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about some of her other ones.
So I was able to go to school and get my degree. And a few years ago, I wanted to go to school. I wanted to get my master's degree in accounting. And so I applied for the Zonta Women in Business Scholarship. Something that I mentioned at the beginning, the thing about mentoring is really opening your eyes. So the first thing that did was, for the first time in my life, the people that read these essays, the different organizations and these Zontians that came to me and said, you what? you grew up where? And until they said that, I really didn't know. I had lived so much of my life surrounded by so many people like me. The community that I'm in, I mean, maybe they're not logging, but they still, to this day, they release school for 2 weeks. So all of the children can go help sort potatoes. And there's some pretty dangerous equipment there as well. And so it's community-wide. I thought that was normal, and until I applied for these scholarships, until I got these, and people said, that's not normal. I really didn't know. And so that helping me see has been really eye-opening. And then the other part in helping me find that hope, or what could I do now that I could see, what could I do with that? And what should I do with that? So one thing that they helped me do was seeing that I needed to share my story. So I started writing, I went through my journals and wrote up my story of my life, and then edited that to read better. And so I've completed a memoir about my life. And I know some of you have been waiting, but the publication process where I'm at is very, very complicated. So please be patient with me, but it will be forthcoming. The second goal that they helped me see was I wanted to help individuals like myself, and I wanted to share this idea and message because I think a lot of the women that we strive to help, their eyes are a little closed still. So when we say, you know, maybe child labor is a bad thing, they say, what? Why? Everyone's doing it. Or maybe this child marriage is not something that should be happening. They say, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, everyone I know is like this. So one thing that they did was, besides helping me get the scholarship and pass that on to district and international, they helped me found a nonprofit called Undaunted Women. So what Undaunted Women is, and the focus is on meaningful mentoring. Is exactly what has helped me move forward through having a mentor that's many mentors and individuals and organizations that have helped me open my eyes. They've helped me have an organization that helps women open their eyes too, but at a mentor pace. Like you saw with the Mortensons, they didn't run up to me and say, oh my goodness, why are you living with your family that way? I'm taking you out of this and we're gonna save you. They waited for me to open my eyes till I could see, till I could get where I needed to be to turn around and create a different future for myself. So a lot of people ask, how did you come up with Undaunted Women? Where does this come from? So this came from the early days of the pandemic. I realized that in my community, we have a large number of evacuees, particularly coming at the time when I founded this 2 years ago, coming from Afghanistan. And it was the very early days of the pandemic. And I don't know about where you were, but where I was, the grocery stores were empty. There was no food on the shelves. And so I went to all of my neighbors and everyone I knew and said, look, you can't take all that food. I know people who need it. And I loaded up a lot of food in my van that I take my kids in. And I went to drop this off and I thought, I'm doing something good. But I got there to these women that had just arrived and couldn't find food. And there were about 2,000 individuals, including the families. And I was one person. Not only that, I realized something else. I dropped off some canned food, and I didn't understand this at the time, but later learned that only one person there owned a can opener. And so this woman came out with a very old camping can opener, and she opened the cans for everyone. And I said, what are you doing? And when she explained that as much as they wanted what was inside this can, they couldn't access it, it hit me so hard, because that's how I've been my whole life. I've had hope inside me. I've had a dream and I can't get it out. I needed a can opener or a mentor. I need that resource to be able to open that opportunity to me, and also that open my eyes to be able to do that. So not only did I learn a lot, like maybe I don't drop off can openers or drop off food that they can't eat, but I also learned that I needed help. I couldn't support all of these individuals myself. So who did I reach out to? I reached out to my Zonta club because they had helped me. They helped me until I could get my nonprofit status, and they helped me understand the power of choice. So they helped me apply for grants. So instead of dropping off things for families, they can go to the store and pick out for themselves. They can go do that so we got a grocery store grant and a like a secondhand clothing, furniture. They can go pick out their own things. So that was Zonta's part of it. They helped apply for that. And for Undaunted Women's part, the women that have come to me are incredible, that have said, I want to help you. And what's amazing is they've come and said they feel like I feel. They feel like something needs to happen, and they've been feeling that pull, and they volunteer with Undaunted Women. And so some of them, what they do is meet these individuals at the store, help them shop, and then help deliver some of those things. So that was really how that started, and then how Zonta has been involved a little bit. I'm excited to share more individually how that's come about.
So when Tressa came to South Puget Sound and reached out to us and said, I need some help, I was able to mentor her because I was a treasurer of the club at the time, and to be her fiduciary sponsor for a 501c3, you had to use your treasurer. So that's how we began our mentoring program together. But since then, there have been a lot of things that have happened. When she got her acceptance, or she got the call from Zonta International to be one of the Remarkable Women Powerful Stories, I was able to go over the script with her and help her put that together. Also, when she wrote her book, I've been able to read her book and help her in preparing her proposal for her publication of it. And then, of course, I've worked on a mentoring program with her. So our mentoring has just continued to grow through the last couple of years. She was able to articulate her needs to me as we went along. The more I got to know her, the more we got to talk about, what is it that you want to do? How can I help you? And so it was just about really asking her a lot of questions and trying to figure out, to open a nonprofit is one thing, but that you've got to break that down. How are you going to do that? What do you need to do that? How can I help you? So those type of questions really can help you dig deeper into your mentoring relationship and build it stronger. So, question for you is, what helps a mentee discover their goals?
Hopefully everyone's had a chance to reflect on this, but I'd like to really emphasize that a lot of the women we are helping don't know. So if you're waiting for someone to come tell you what they want, it may not happen. Because, for example, a lot of the women that I reach out to and say, what do you hope for? They respond, what is hope? So depending on who you're serving, it's not really fair to expect someone to come to you and say, I have this very specific need, can you help me? So it may happen as they learn and grow. And that's what's happened with Undaunted Women as things have progressed. So I want to share some of that with you. So again, Undaunted Women's focus is on mentoring. And it's whatever they ask for once they can say, this is what I hope for. I want to tell you about S right here on your left. She had been here for maybe 2 weeks. And I walked up to her and I said, what do you hope for? What do you need? And she said, I want to be a doctor. She's 18 years old. And she said she knew exactly what she wanted. And so we said, okay, well, you're going to need to be enrolled in school. You're going to need a computer. So Zonta South Puget Sound was able to help, secure some laptops and different things like that. And then Undaunted Women, we were able to match her with a mentor. So then I want to tell you about one of our volunteers. This is Shireen on the right. She's from Kurdistan. And she grew up actually in a barn with a leaky roof for a lot of her life. And she was evacuated because of her father's involvement in some different things. And she is a pre-med student right now. And like I said, the individuals that feel drawn to help and support undaunted women, they are amazing, amazing people. So she's helped us. Helped her set those small goals and helped her. It is a very long process to become a doctor. And she's helped her stay patient and set those small goals. And so together they've developed a meaningful relationship that's really helped. Another woman I want to tell you about is she's also S. You'll find that common in my presentation here. So I want to tell you about her. I drew really close to her over about a year and a half. She was forced into marriage at 16, but she was, and she has 6 children. And I want to let her first share what she discovered when she got to know some of the volunteers with Undaunted Women. Can you believe what she just said? That's Zonta, right? We want to tell them that women and children have rights. And that's what she discovered. That was the most surprising thing to her. And maybe it came from the women that are driving the big trucks as we're delivering things. And she's like, what are these women doing driving box trucks? I don't even know that I can drive. So that was really amazing. And her goal was to become a CNA. And she was able to, so on Undaunted Women's part, we were able to match her with a mentor to help her through school. Ran into several obstacles with her schooling. The instructor was very unkind. So, and I don't know how she would ever get anywhere without help. And then Zonta South Puget Sound, they started a grant. Specifically when I said, there are women that don't do traditional education and they still need support. It's not going to fall in your women in business category, and it's not going to fall in your women in technology. Please, can you create a grant for women that want to move forward? And they were open-minded and they listened, and they started a grant called Women Moving Forward so that she could buy her clothes, her nursing clothing, and her books. So that's been incredible too. And here's another example. And I'm showing these so you can see the individual nature of it. So when they ask for something, there's not a one size fits all, or we don't do the same exact thing for every person. But this woman, her name is N, she is a tailor, or she was in Afghanistan, and she wanted to continue that work. And so Zontans helped get together sewing machines, and Zonta District 8 actually did a fundraiser for this so we could buy the sewing materials, the sewing machine. And then on Undaunted Women's part, this on the right, her name is Donna, and she owns it's called Prima Donna Studios. It's an incredibly inclusive fashion line, and it's meant to really tailor to the person so there's not so much waste with things that don't work. And she's amazing, and they're amazing. I want this dress. I know you're going to say it. So I want to tell you right off, they made the pattern and dyed the fabric, and these were sewn by the women, these tailors, and Prima Donna Studios pays them over $100 a dress. So very livable wages. They do really well. So our part is just merging them so they can find those opportunities, doing that communication. And then also because they're starting their own business and sewing things, that's where having that accounting degree and showing them how to run a business is very helpful. So you can see how Zonta's had an impact, and then how that mentoring's had an impact there. Another ask that we get has been with language. A lot of the women they speak really well, but they're not confident, and they just want to practice with someone who's not going to judge them. So this has been an incredible program for us because it's all virtual. so people from anywhere can practice. And so that was one woman that benefited from our program. And again, it's all a tool to facilitate mentoring. So however they asked for that, and then how we facilitated that. I want to share one volunteer's perspective on that program.
When I was first approached to be a volunteer, I was hesitant at first because I questioned what I had to contribute. I'm not an English teacher and I don't speak Persian, and so I felt, what can I do that could possibly make a meaningful difference? But I accepted the opportunity, and I'm so glad that I did, because it has been such a meaningful experience for me this past year. As I have worked one-on-one with a woman from Afghanistan who has come with her family as political refugees, and I have truly gained a friend out of this experience.
Isn't that incredible how it kind of goes both ways and they build that? Another program is this really inspires me. So if you're wondering how to become a mentor, maybe this woman, Lynn, came to us. She said, I'm an artist and I would like to mentor in art. I want to share this. And at the exact same time, we had a woman come to us and say, I want to learn art. I have a passion for this, and I have so much worry for my family still in Afghanistan, and art helps me through that. And so we were able to match them together. And again, Zonta South Puget Sound was able to buy those supplies, the charcoal and all the different things that she needed to get going there. So there's definitely a lot of help there still. Another big thing is that the women want to be taught by women how to drive. And we've heard them. And this shocked me when one of the driving mentors sent me the correspondence between her and one of her mentees, her driving mentees. The woman said, I am so happy. I wasn't afraid for the first time. I wasn't afraid to drive a car. And she said, I want to be with you all the time. And she said, thank you for giving me hope in my future. This one's an example of the life skills of meeting them with understanding the power of choice and not just saying, here you are, letting them go and pick out the items that they want for their family, and learning how to manage that budget when they go in. And this is how money works. And this is how much you have, and being able to figure out which you want more out of those things. So that's been really incredible. Again, this was one of the grants that Zonta South Puget Sound was able to help us obtain. Something that happened through this, because our focus is not on the stuff. We've never been focused on the stuff. I guess after my first food delivery, I learned really well, it's not about the stuff, it's about the relationship. But sometimes you need something to facilitate it. And one of the women that I became particularly close to, her name is also S. And for 18 months, I took diapers to her. In fact, when we couldn't find any diapers because they were all gone, I potty trained my youngest and said, too bad, you don't need them as bad as they do. And I built this really incredible relationship with her. And about a year into that relationship, she contacted me and said, I am having problems with my husband. Can you help me? What problems? What's going on? And she said, I'm tired of being raped every night. And I said, what? For me, I'm like, what? And then she says, yes, I was forced into marriage at 16 and I'm property. And I've been here long enough to know I don't have to be. Her eyes were opened, and we were able to help her get to the point, get to some resources to be able to file for a divorce. Unfortunately, when her husband found out and got the papers and all this, he took their 4 kids and went back to Afghanistan. And so she went back after her children. And right during that time, the Taliban took Kabul. And I was so grateful that I had that relationship with her, because she started contacting me. Please help me. This wasn't happening with just me. This was happening with many of the women we had served who somehow ended back there, or their families. And so this is a sample of what I received that my volunteers were receiving from people they trusted, because it was a scary time and it was hard to know who to trust, and it still is. And she had to have us, we had to write her a letter to the American Embassy. And I'm thinking to myself, what if I hadn't started Undaunted Women? What if I hadn't reached out? What if I hadn't dropped off diapers? I can't imagine what happened. And at the time too, many of people who I called for help will know I didn't know what to do. And so I reached out to Zontans. I said, what do I do? And I was directed to the UN chair, to Pamela Morgan, and she said, she connected me with Naha Shlimi, who said, there's hope. She reminded me, there's hope. There's hope. People have been planning for this, and there are organizations, and everything will be okay, even if they're stuck there for a really long time. And so through the support of the Zonchans and different things, S was one of the very fortunate individuals to be able to make it back out.
With her children.
With her children. Unfortunately, of course, in Afghanistan, she couldn't leave the house without her husband. Herself, she still feels very worried about sharing her story. But she would like me to, and so I'm sharing that with you. And she also wanted me to share this story from the perspective of her 12-year-old daughter. So I don't know what you want to talk about, but what I'm hoping is to hear what it was like to be
I don't really know how big the help was because we're like in the middle of scary experience up there. It was scary, we were not allowed to go out, and it was really hard for us to just get away from the house or phone to really a lot of people from the house, especially women, and it was just scary. And when we were trying to get to the airport, it was really scary because we had to like find a way to get out without them seeing us. So when we got in the airport, it was really scary because it was crowded with people, and there was people like gas bombs there, shooting, a bunch of people on one side, and a bunch of people on the other side, people running to us, other kids literally on the ground crying. It was really scary.
And when she talks about that, she said when she was about to give up hope, her brothers reminded her, remember you told us have hope. I know there's some hard things still happening, and we still have families really struggling with the earthquakes and the different things that are happening. But I'm so grateful that we have those connections with the individuals that we might not have otherwise. and that we found a way to bridge them and create them in the manner that they wanted and help them discover that hope within themselves.
Yeah, so we're kind of right back to where we started with Oprah's quote on a mentor is someone who allows you to see hope inside of yourself. Sometimes that's all that we need, is just someone to come alongside of us and give us that hope so we can continue on. We've seen this effect in action today. We've seen it how many women and children have found hope because of mentoring. Mentoring, this is another place that we found hope, is with, I mentored Zonta, Tressa mentored her volunteers. Her volunteers have mentored the Afghan women, and they are mentoring one another now. In addition to that, Tressa's children are involved with the children in Afghanistan. And her daughter is so happy to see that they have, her daughter's the one in the pink, that they have been able to give hope to the children of Afghanistan as well. So as you can see, mentoring has a ripple effect. When we start in a mentoring program, we really have no idea where that's going to end. It can just keep going. And this is what we feel that we've kind of experienced here. And so we encourage you to start a mentoring program and to mentor people and see where that goes, see where that ends up. So making your mentoring opportunities meaningful, purposeful, and intentional. And you can do that by helping your mentees articulate what their needs are. Ask them a lot of questions, dig deeper, find out what their real, they might say, oh, I want to start a business. Okay, what kind of business? What do you need for that business? How can I help you get that? So those are kind of the questions. You've got to keep going a little deeper and a little deeper. Regular meetings are very important. When Tressa and I first started, just as starting her 501c3, we kind of met as needed. And as time went on, we realized, wow, we need to meet a little bit more frequently. So we met a little more frequently. Now we meet once a week. It's a regular set meeting, and we meet, and we usually kind of have an agenda. We have some timelines that we know. I think that was another thing. Or, yeah, set goals and timelines. So I know what her timeline is for her publishing her book. So every time we meet, that's the first thing I do is go over her timeline. Where are you at on this? Are we hitting your goals there? So by her articulating what she needed and giving me that timeline, I am able to turn around and say, hey, where are you at on that timeline? How are you getting there? So setting a timeline on what your mentee is trying to accomplish is very important. Give them support. They really need to know that you're there. You're in their corner. I mean, we all need someone in our corner. We want to know that someone's there listening to us and hearing what our needs are. And so make sure that you go ahead and you give that support. And then follow through. Don't just give them that support and then you don't talk to them again. Follow through. Make sure that they were able to maybe reach out to those resources you gave them, or that they were able to accomplish that goal that they wanted to. So you definitely want to follow through with them.
And one thing I'm hopeful that you can see is that maybe you donated to the JMK Scholarship Fund, or maybe you have someone you're mentoring that's a little like me, or maybe somebody's coming to your club and saying, can you help with this? And you have to change some of your things, some of your, like starting a scholarship that's not traditional, or helping raise money for a different cause. So I'm hopeful that you can see the impact that that has had on my life, and the fact that it's having an impact that you might not be able to measure on the lives of lots and lots and lots of other people.
Right. So mentoring matters to me because why would it matter to you? So we invite you right now to do a little turn and talk with your table mates. Tell them why you may want to be a mentor, or why you think it's important. Yeah, you can also answer it on the Whova app too.
We'd love to hear from some of you. If anybody's going to share, raise your hand.
Would anybody like to share why mentoring matters to them? Hello, we're going to have someone share with us.
All of us as professionals really serve as mentors whether we realize it or not. So it's way better that we realize. So you mentor, say, a student, if you're teaching, you mentor them and you may have relationships for years with them. They may come back and talk to you and so forth. You also turn around and mentor people coming into your field. As a professor, when we had young women recruited, first time, never been in, they've come out of graduate school and they have or haven't had good mentoring there, you go alongside of them and say, what do you need? And when your review comes up, you come to me and I'll help you with it because I know what the committee's looking for and you need to know what the committee's looking for. I think it's happened more often with men than women, but it's our turn.
Right. And that's exactly what we're saying. You ask questions. What is it that you need from me? How can I help you? Right. Well, I'll share with you why I mentor. I mentor because it gives me the opportunity to come alongside somebody and help them reach their goal, reach their dream, help them on their journey. And then I found out while doing that, it is so beneficial to me. I have learned so much from this lady right here. Sometimes I wonder who's the mentor and who's the mentee. Yeah, and that's a good relationship to have it that way. She has shared a lot with me. I'd like to take a moment and share a couple Zontians that have been important to me and that have shared a quote of what they think. First one is Sigrid. Some of you may know Sigrid Duden. She's from the Zonta Club of Hamburg. And she says, mentoring in Zonta for me means connecting between a mentor and a mentee, both sharing, asking, listening, and answering with empathy in a situation that develops comfortably based on trust. Now, I think she hit on a whole lot of things in this quote here. We're talking about sharing, asking, listening, answering, empathy, trust. Those are all important things that is for a meaningful mentoring relationship that you need. My next one is from Judith Ketch. She's from the Oklahoma Club. And she says mentoring is not a one-time deal. It takes time, or it takes effort and perseverance over the long term. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We have been at this for a while. We meet regularly, and we're just going to keep going. Finally, I just want to say that Zonta is meaningful mentoring. That's what we do in Zonta. We mentor people that we work with, people that are Zontians, new Zontians, some of our, maybe our Z clubs, our Golden Zs, some of our awardees. We mentor them. And that's what I hope that all clubs are looking at, a mentoring program. And we do like to see where it's going to go with the Great Girls Meet Great Women program that Zonta International is putting on. We think that's a wonderful opportunity. So we would like to share. Do you have anything else to add? Okay, so last of all, we are going to put up 3 more QR codes. Tressa, tell them
These are on the bottom of your worksheet, if that makes it easier for you, or you can type in the link. The first one is a resource request form, and that will allow you to request this workshop or one specifically on how to be a good mentor or one specifically on how to be a good mentee. I did hear from a speaking engagement with the American Association of University Women. The students told me that everyone over 35 needs a mentor under 35.
Yes.
So that's their opinion. And then we have these great guides. They're a form you can fill out. The middle one is for mentees and the far right one is for mentors that will help you hopefully in your mentoring. And with that being said, we'd like to just take a minute. I know we're running a little bit long, but if you have a couple questions that we can answer, Catherine Cleland, yes.
So if you fill out one of those forms, you're gonna send me an email with that guide?
Yes, or actually, so the first form is the resource request form, and then I will email you the other two guides, whatever you select. That's the important one. The other two are linked directly to the guide for you to fill out. Thanks, Catherine. Great question.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes?
I'm a little curious about your siblings.
I want to share that with you. It's really interesting. I think this is important to bring up. So every one of my siblings has at least a bachelor's degree, if not higher. I have a sister that's a dentist. I have a brother that has his PhD as a professor. Many of them, the rest are all engineers. But what I want to share with that is that education doesn't always mean that your eyes will be opened, because this really breaks my heart. It's for hard, but please follow me and you'll see. I posted on my social media, I posted a picture of me as a barefoot 7-year-old stacking boards in my family sawmill, surrounded by my siblings. And I said, I'm so glad that many mentors have opened my eyes to know that this is not the best way to develop a work ethic. And my brother responded, what do you mean? And he's older than me, and he is an engineer, and he has a family, and his kids do the work that I've done. And my nieces and nephews still do the work that I do. I constantly see them with chainsaws and these pictures being posted of 3-year-olds shaving the shavings off trees. So I think that's why it's so important that we mentor and that we move slowly, because it's all about opening people's eyes themselves. I can't make him see that. I can't change generations. I can only change my generation, my children, and what that future looks like. And hopefully develop more of a platform to be able to speak out against, child labor and the different things it does when you teach them, this is how you develop work ethic. You put your kids to work in a sawmill.
We know we're running late, so we really want to thank you guys for coming and joining us today. And if you have any other information you'd like from us, please use our form and request it, and we'll get back with you. So thank you.
Let's try to write an answer to I'm just going to answer really quickly. Got the screen share. Why the speak cannot be heard in an understandable way?
I saw a couple of people wrote that on Hoover too, but then it seems like other people could. So maybe understanding yeah, I know. I need to see if they can fix that.
Deb, where are you from? Where are you from, Deb?
Thank you. This was wonderful. I'm going to put another one else on the I wanted to give you a opinion also. This is our club and then President Sharon's finger.
I don't know.
This
The
is
connection was not very good. I don't know. We couldn't do anything for it though. Can slides be shown larger?
Just the whole screen. Oh, they're probably on their phone.
Okay. Well, I think that's everything.
Can you
I can stop sharing and it will show our screen and then
go to more?
just end the video. There you go.